The captain has to just raise the bar a bit more.
But not for this World Cup probably. Hopefully by the next World Cup they will still have some side in place.
Sometimes just teams can get sucked into this bit where if you have a senior player, uh, you just play him for the seniority and not because he may or may not be the part of your best 11.
And yeah, I think Karuna Ratne is probably the only debate that you can have. Otherwise, I think this is possibly the strongest 11 that they can field.
Second team, and we're going to, of course, discuss Sri Lanka. Remember the last time India hosted the World Cup, it was Sri Lanka who ended up the finalists. And keep your comments coming through, of course. Cricket.com asking randomly, isn't there any article for SA20 auctions? That will be there, of course, I'm sure, this week. We will be talking about the SA20 in the Monday Night Live show. So a little plug in there.
And
tomorrow,
the weekly newsletter.
And the weekly newsletter. So join Akshay, Nikhil and me to break down some of the biggest buys of the SA20 auction, Cricket.com, and the rest of you lads as well. So let's move on to Sri Lanka, because they did, of course, compete against India in that Asia Cup final. I say compete very politely because they got bundled out that Sunday. And let's see what's been making the news in terms of Sri Lanka. All of this is, of course, available on the cricket.com website and the app. Now, look at those names. Lahiru, Madhushankar, Tikshana named in Sri Lanka's World Cup squad. It is, of course, great because they have already lost Hasaranga and Shamira due to their respective injuries. It's been something which is clouding Sri Lankan cricket in the last 2 months. Even they went at the Asia Cup without pretty much their best attack. Straight up, boys, off the cuff, Sri Lanka, how will they go? Nikhil Popat, you first.
Yeah, again, they are the guys who find new heroes. The theme doesn't change for me, be it Asia Cup or the World Cup. That is something that I'm expecting from them. Being able to pick the guys for that day. And I think they have probably one of the best engine rooms. And by engine room, I mean a 4-5-6. I don't know many will agree with me or not, but I think an engine room of Sadera Samaravikrama, Charita Salanka in this form, and if Kusal Mendis continues to have the run that he has, I think that is as good a 3-4-5 that you can get. And DDS is bound to come good. He's too good a player. In the past, we've talked about him a lot, about the balance that what Maxwell adds to Australia is what DDS does for Sri Lanka. So if two of these four guys are able to perform every game, then I think Sri Lanka will look to surprise a lot of opponents. Because again, my mind goes back to that knock that Sadira and Kusal played versus Pakistan.
Correct.
The ease with which both of them were able to maneuver the field versus Shadab Nawaz, I think you don't see it very often, and conditions are not something that's going to be alien to them. So I'm expecting them to compete, but it's all on the captain. The captain has to just raise the bar a bit more, and then they will be in a much better space, I hope.
Okay. Meanwhile, Santosh Shirapa going on to say one thing I will be enjoying about Sri Lanka this World Cup is their anthem live from the stadium twice. Anything else is a bonus. MVP already early shots from Cricket Atashan saying Sadira Samar Vikrama, if he steps up his ODI World Cup, I think this team will build upon Sadira's versatile batting against spin as a backup wicketkeeper. And then Sanjay will answer your questions about Sri Lanka at the end of this Sri Lanka preview, just before we start the India one. And yeah, more questions coming through. It's good to see the passion and enthusiasm for Sri Lanka because, look, make no mistake, if they made the Asia Cup final, they're there for a reason, and they were enjoying a long winning streak in ODIs. I think 13 or 14 it was, boys. So, Akshay, let's take a look at their squad right now and make a sense of their selections. Obviously, we just mentioned that they're plagued with injuries, but how do they fare? And do you think that ODI ranking of 7 reflects potentially where they would finish, or am I entirely wrong?
I mean, I do agree with you on that. My bad. Yeah, it is a fair reflection of where they would end up, in this World Cup. A squad that's been plagued by injuries, like you mentioned, that it is a bit unfortunate, but their batting seems to be hitting the right notes at the right time. The Asia Cup final, they will also be hoping for their sake that it was an aberration and they wouldn't want to look too much into it. But yeah, right up top, they've got the experience of Karunaratne, they've got the exuberance of Nisanka, who seems like the ODI format has been made for him. It's tailor-made for him, the way he plays. Like in limited overs, a lot of people had expectations from him in T20s especially, but ODIs really seem to be the place where he's found the right pace at which he needs to go about his innings. So that's great to see. They've got Kushal Mendes in great form, like Nikhil Bhai mentioned. Even in the Asia Cup, it was great to watch the kind of knocks he played time and time again, and he's always been rated highly even by experts for good reason. Dhananjay De Silva is someone I'm looking forward to, especially after Somesh's jinx, where he did mention how Dhananjay could potentially be the most. I'm forgetting what was the term he used, but it wasn't pleasant words to say the least. I'm really looking forward to seeing him. A great utility player, a great team person, always like offers value with the bat and ball, just like most other number six and number sevens. So looking forward to seeing him. Lastly, Dunit Velalge, youngster. Lot of people rate him highly. Had a fantastic Asia Cup, bowled really well against India. We saw that six for. Or was it? Oh, yeah, it was a six for. So yeah, great signs, but not for this World Cup probably. Hopefully, by the next World Cup, they will still have some side in place. And my man Dilshan Madhushanka is there. By hook or crook, he somehow made it to the squad. Let's hope he's fit enough to be able to play more than just a few games for them.
Okay, we'll take a look at the fixtures with Gurkirat right now. And before that, Cricket.com pouring in his thoughts about Dunit Vallage. And he goes on to say he's a pick who can be used as a Rangna Herath kind of a role, where he was brought in seeing the conditions. The reason is Dunit currently bats slower. Ankar Biswas, meanwhile, saying Sri Lanka may not win much, but rest assured they will give it their all, fight till the last ball. And there's more, wait for it, boys, because Satvik going on to say, best case scenario for Sri Lanka is probably 3 wins. Biggest problem is Shanaka. He's an incredibly reluctant bowler and form has fallen off with a cliff for the bat. I mean, let's not throw our daggers out. He is, of course, going to be leading that Sri Lanka side. And I know he's quick to be slated.
The format, he's averaging 6 since 2022. 6. So there's only way up. So hopefully that's where it goes.
Yeah, and there's some positive comments as well coming in, saying that Nisanka, Sudhira, Kushal Pereira, DDS, Theeksan and Velagi will take this team to at least 6 to 7 wins. Speaking of 6 to 7 wins, they have 10 games. So let's take a look at Sri Lanka's fixtures with Gulkirat. And, of course, South Africa waits for them in Delhi, your beloved Delhi boy. What are they going to do, Gulkirat?
So if Sri Lanka, if I'm in the Sri Lankan camp, I'd be happy playing South Africa in Delhi and Pakistan. I mean, Pakistan and Hyderabad also is not something that can be put beyond. Even could be something that you could say is a venue that favors Pakistan as such. Australia at Lucknow also. If the pitch is slower, I mean, why not? But given post the Netherlands game, if you look at their fixtures, England at Bengaluru, India at Mumbai, Bangladesh at Delhi is going to be an interesting game where any side could come on top, and then New Zealand and Bengaluru. So I think there are at least 4 wins that Sri Lanka should look to manage. If like how Nikhil said, if that engine room can do well, then maybe I won't be surprised if they can manage 5 wins and finish in the top half. My problem or my issue with Sri Lanka is that yes, all of us have been talking about Hasaranga's injury and how he's their best bowler now. Replacing him would be difficult, but uh, now there is no Dushmanta Chamira, so they have Lahiru Kumara. Now Lahiru Kumara does have the pace that Chamira brings in, but he's not as disciplined. Many times when it's not Lahiru Kumara's day, he can go for a lot of runs. Uh, in a way, he's a bowler who's of a similar mold like Lockie Ferguson. It's just that Lockie Ferguson has still had more performances, but Lahiru Kumara has not been able to translate those performances as much. So they'll definitely need that pace attack to step up at some point of time. Madhushanka is good with the new ball. Rajita is accurate. Patirana is still developing, so I'm not sure how much can we expect from him. So again, this is another team that has the tools to do well. You wouldn't really say that this team can get choked against spin in the middle overs. That won't happen. This team does have the tools to do well, but will they come together and punch above their weight remains to be seen. They also have Karuna Ratne, who's very experienced and has had the experience of playing in India, and you could say he's an experienced campaigner in many ways.
But would he start? Wouldn't it be
Yeah,
Prasad Pereira?
that's what I'm coming to. So I'm not sure if he would start straight away because You have Kushal Pereira there, you have Pathum Nisanka. So uh, sometimes just teams can get sucked into this bit where if you have a senior player, uh, you just play him for the seniority and not because he may or may not be the part of your best 11. So would be interesting to see which route do they take with the Karuna Ratne.
Okay. By the way, a lot of comments coming through with Sri Lanka. It's very, very good to see because many people reckon that Sri Lanka could spur surprise. The Pacers, which are in Sri Lanka's side, are outright bad, though. Cricket.com saying Pratirana is decent. Madhushankar is just a good power play operator. So on pacey wickets, they might lose most of their games. Sanjay going on to say Bangladesh and Delhi could be tricky, and going by the practice saying it could go either way. And Jagmeet, good to see you after a while. Hello, boys. Sri Lanka may finish 8th to 9th. We've not got to the predictions bit yet because we're waiting kindly for Nikhil's 11. But before that, his SWOT analysis of Sri Lanka. Nikhil, take it away and talk to me because this is going to be something that all Lankan fans will be peering into the screen for.
Yep, and not no surprising that the strengths include spin, which is good to see. Third best wicket taking sides. We all remember the record of bowling out opponents, and that was a good thing to have. That is something that's good to see here. 33.4 balls per wicket. Third best bowling average for spinners. Not surprising. Economy of 7.2 in overs 41 to 50, something that I'll discuss in the after this, how I feel Thikshan and Velalage may be used on different decks. So those definitely remain their strengths. The weakness is again something that we've talked about. Second lowest batting average and balls per wicket record after Netherlands. Not surprising. You can have those kind of games when you have a slightly vulnerable top order at times. And again, Asia Cup did not help. Third lowest run rate in overs 11 to 40 after Netherlands and Bangladesh. This is something which I'm hoping to get. They'll get better at with Sadira and Kusal and Asalanka now in much better shape. And second lowest batting average and lowest balls per wicket records in overs 1 to 10. Again, not surprising. And again, here I'll not be too harsh because I feel uh, conditions haven't been such for teams to really explode at the top. So I think the weakness is something where I still see a potential for them to cover up. Favorable scheduling, yes, 2 games each in Delhi, Lucknow. I have in my mind at least 4 to 5 games where they should do well. And for me to be even saying it, despite not having Chamil and Hasaranga, just tells you the kind of people that they have if they click. Good recent form as shown in the Asia Cup. That of course it's a very good opportunity. Lot of all-round options with few players experienced in Indian conditions. Something that is not new for subcontinent players, but hopefully they'll be used in the right games. The threats, as Paji also pointed out, potent backups in terms of seniors that are there, and there are some inexperienced guys, batters not used to high scoring games. I'm hoping there won't be too many, but if they are, then it is something to look out for. And too reliant on bowlers to win games is also true, but again, every team will have one strength to really back on. So I feel coming back to the point about the 5 games which I feel they should definitely do well in, and they have a very good chance to win is with a heavy heart South Africa in Delhi, because I feel that's where Thikshana Velalage can do the job. Then Lucknow games, they can trouble Australia. I'm not saying they'll beat them, but they can definitely trouble them. Netherlands, given they lost wickets to Labuschagne yesterday, I'm hoping Sri Lanka will definitely do better in that aspect. And the Bangladesh game, while yes, it could be very, very tricky, I'm hoping they are able to pull it off. And Afghanistan game is where I'm hoping that they use Lahiru Kumara well. If I remember it rightly, it was Lahiru Kumara only who had a very good spell against them, bowling a lot of good short balls. So that is something that hoping that they are. See, they are a side who's at times very tactically good. So that is something that I'm hoping that they'll be able to pull it off, because the point about leaking a lot of runs on pacey wickets, they are not playing too many. They are playing Pakistan in Hyderabad, England in Bangalore, New Zealand in Bangalore, India in Wankhede. That's just the 4 games that are there in pacey wickets. So that's only where they may be trouble. If they're able to eke out 4 wins out of those remaining 6 games, they will be very, very well placed. And then those tough games, if one of those X factor players just step up on that day, you never know where they will end up. Oh, nice. Thank you. Thanks for the classic.
Damn it! I hate it because I keep slating Gurkirat and it happens to me as well. It happens to the best, they say. But it just makes me think about Sri Lanka's fixtures, right, Akshay? And I'm like, do they have to beat Afghanistan? They have to beat, you would say, arguably Bangladesh, and they probably have to beat Netherlands. So those three are a given. What they do with the rest of the big boys, the other 6 games, like Nick said, if they can just get 1 or 2 wins here on surfaces kind of more conducive to their attack, then you're just like, wow, okay, fine. Sri Lanka, are not bad.
Another thing that I want to add here is that they are playing their last fixture is versus New Zealand in Bangalore. Now it is traditionally not a slow surface, but towards the end of the tournament, with matches having been played on that deck, it may be slower than what it usually is. So it will not be, you can't be sure that it would be a flat pacey wicket straight away. It could even turn out to be slightly slower, which would mean that Sri Lanka will be in with the chance even there was even though it's Bangalore.
Yeah. And next, I mean, we spoke about the 11s, we spoke about the middle order, we spoke about what they have at their disposal. But of course, you've gone for these guys. And the one that I actually agree with you, I don't know if many people are going for Karuratne, but Kusal Pereira starts regardless, right?
Yeah, I think he's the guy that you want to set the tempo up top. Nisanka will bat deep, and again that engine room 3, 4, 5, great as good as they get. Shanaka, yes, since qualifiers he's averaging 6, so I'm just hoping that he's able to give himself the right batting role and just come in at the right entry point, get small amount of runs before, and then you can go really deep into those big hits that is able to hit, because they will need the De Silva and Shanaka to really ensure that they are only coming in the 45th over, because if they are coming in earlier, then they are losing too many wickets up top. So hopefully the top 5 can ensure that those two are coming at the right entry point. Velalage, again, we've talked in depth about how good he is, and the less 3, I think they just pick themselves. Tikshina, uh, Pathirana and Rajita. You could drop Rajita for Lahiru Kumara if you want to on on a surface where you feel there will be good bounce. Rajita can use the swing well. Kumara is better at using the pace at good length and hard length. So there is a good option there to mix and match. And yeah, I think Karuna Ratne is probably the only debate that you can have. Otherwise, I think this is possibly the strongest 11 that they can feel.
Okay, Abbas going to say Lahiru question mark.
Yeah, so he's coming back from an injury, and
Yeah.
again, just named. So let's see. I'm more than happy to swap him out for Rajita. Again, it'll depend entirely on conditions.
Okay,
Nikhil,
okay, I'll just come to you 1 second because Akshay, they finished 6th in the 2019 World Cup. Just predictions and MVP from you quickly before we get to Gurkirat and a couple of points that Cricket.com and Santosh Urupa are making. Where do you think they'll finish? Why? And MVP, and then Gurkirat can take over.
I mean, like I said earlier, ODI ranking seventh. I mean, being seventh in the ODI ranking system. So I would say that's where they'll finish the World Cup as well. Barring the Bangladesh, Afghanistan, and Netherlands encounters, it's hard to see them eke out many more victories. Yeah, they do have names who can potentially win them the games, but probability का खेल है तो yeah, I highly doubt कि they will be able to do that in a high stakes situation like the World Cup. So yeah, I'll just play it safe and say number 7 that they'll finish 7th. But I just wanted to ask one question, Nikhil bhai. Lahiru definitely injury se वापस आ रहा है, and given a choice, yeah, they can sort of swap him. But what about Dilshan? Don't you think the left arm angle and the fact that in pace friendly conditions, new ball ke sath, he can really wreak havoc? So you see him also potentially coming in, or?
Yeah, I think the only bit is, see, I think the spot open is only of Rajita, because that top 6 you can't drop anyone. You cannot drop Tikshana Patirana. I think without Patirana they'll have no hope in the end overs. So those two kind of just select themselves. And again, Velalage is someone who's going to give them that batting depth. And I will not be surprised if he's even promoted at times ahead of DDS and Shanaka, because I feel he has that potential to really bat out phases. So again, if they want to drop an all-rounder for Madhushanka also playing, I have no problem with it. I just don't see it happening as much. So again, DDS ka form will become very, very crucial, because if DDS continues to not contribute with bat and not taking wickets, then they might have to put Velalage up and then hope that the top 5 really bat deep to play that extra bowler. I don't think that
Okay.
is something that they want to go
Pa-
into.
Pa- Paji, do you agree with Cricketer Tashan here? Because he's saying, had Sri Lanka got the entire bowling lineup fit, Chamira and Vani included, would you have considered them a team close to the semis, considering their spinners and decent enough batters for the subcontinent? And he goes on to say he thinks Sri Lanka fifth position, but realistically seventh.
You definitely say that they would have been a stronger force to reckon with, but
Mm.
with Sri Lanka, so many times you see that the batting just doesn't come together and give bowlers enough runs to bowl at. So that's something that has always been my worry with them. So yeah, I mean, I their bowling's definitely weakened because of those injuries, but like Nikhil said, that they still have resources and they still have the personnel to do well. But a lot is going to depend even now on how they bat, because many times you just felt that uh, they've lost enough wickets in the first 15 overs for bowlers to not have a chance, especially while batting first. So many times they're three down in the first 15 overs, and then recovering from there becomes difficult. I mean, you can only hope only so much from your 6, 7, 8. Yes, there is batting. Shanaka can bat, Velalage can bat, and so can others. But you want one of the top three to bat well and score hundreds. Now, someone like Pathum Nisanka, he gets starts. He will cross 30, but doesn't really convert those 30s into big runs. And yes, he's young. He'll learn with time, but that is where I feel sometimes Sri Lanka just miss out on taking that next step. When Sri Lanka were a very good ODI side, you had someone in the top three. Once they were set, they knew that they had to bat through, and that doesn't happen so often for Sri Lanka. In fact, that is something that even Bangladesh have been struggling with in recent times. So that is important. If one of the top three, like Kushal Pereira, is
So
obviously in the
is
11,
one of
and
the top three your MVP then?
Uh, MVP it's difficult to pick one. I was actually going to go for Vela Lage, given how well he's bowled in recent times and his batting potential, which I feel can help Sri Lanka finish strongly and add those 15, 20 extra runs. But can't really say if one of those top three could be the MVP, because uh, there is potential, but beyond potential, you've not seen a lot of consistency. Even Kusal Pereira on his days is unstoppable, and
Exactly.
the day he
KJP, bro. Kusal Janas
yeah
Pereira is my MVP for sure. And I
yeah
think they'll
so
finish maybe seventh.
so the day he's able to kick off, he could really hit pacers to all places and make life difficult for opposition. But those days don't happen enough. If those days were happening enough, he would also be a consistent part of the Sri Lankan team, which it's not always his fault, because Sri Lankan cricket is also not uh, the best run cricket board out there, but it is what it is.
Yeah, Shaunak just clipped that part and played it in loop and then sent it to everyone in Sri Lankan cricket circles. Just joking. Of course, Barbara Apte joining in the chat. Good to see you, my friend. Sri Lanka pace bowling is very, very poor. It feels sad to even look at that. And Sanjay going on to say, now thanks to India, Sri Lanka have an Asalanka and hence DDS is not undroppable. And no one is talking about the other Kusal Mendes saying cricket Tashan, despite his struggles against pace, but if he comes 10 overs, he might be a force against spin. This is the KKR problem of two number fours in the Sri Lankan lineup. Right. Thanks for that and your insights about Sri Lanka. Of course, Cricket Datashan, I know you have so many questions and I absolutely love it. We'll, in fact, end it with this particular chat. And I'm sure that's also going to be a hot talking point on Twitter when Sri Lanka plays this World Cup. Would you prefer KJP, whose performances have been recorded that he bats in a Deepak Patel style, or Dimuth, whose ODI performances have been bad, but he's the kind of batter that they need in a World Cup? It's a tough one. I would go for the former. Boys, very quickly.
Yeah, I'll go for the former too, and that is KJP, because again the game is going ahead in that manner. If you already have a guy who's going to anchor at the other end and be the accelerating guy, so I don't want two of them. And then again, even if Dimit gets a good ball after 20 balls, the score might still be 10 of 20. But if it's with KJP, the score might just be 25 or 30. Again, just assuming there, because that's the kind of cricket that he's playing. And Sri Lanka want that platform. Sri Lanka want that slight platform, even if it is say 50 for 1 in 10 overs or 48 for 1 in 10 overs. It gives Sadira and the rest to something to then just make a platform platform, get into a good score, and at least get the pass score, if not the cushion one. So I think if Dimuth was in great touch, then definitely would have preferred Dimuth because of for his consistency. But you already have Nissanka at the other end. So for someone who can really just set the game up, give them 75, 80, and even in 2 games, if he's able to do it, I'm fine with it. Just 2 good games, big ones. Give me 75 or 80 in the first 10. Your job is done because that's what you're picking him for.
And on slow pitches, that first power play becomes very
Yeah,
important because you
exactly.
know that scoring will get tougher. So
Yeah,
if you want a opener for that role who could actually take the
yeah.
attack to the opposition, it would be. Yeah,
Yeah, for sure.
I
We'll
do
leave
think
that comment over
Kale,
there. It's fine. It's all
yes.
right. And Robin Kumar is saying, I feel Velaga is a bit overrated this time. He's been great, but he's had assistance from the pitch to the bowlers from the other end. Yet to see him performance and pressure game. Did you see the Asia Cup? Did you see that Afghanistan game where he got 2 crucial wickets?
I
Robin, come
just, I
on.
just have, no, I just have one thing to say. Again, not related to you or Robin or anyone. I just feel we are just looking at the perfect plays every time.
Yeah.
We are just looking at putting so many filters on people that okay, when you filter, continent filter, pressure game filter, knockout game filter, I say you will not get anybody perfect. Nobody is going to score everywhere and in every condition. You'll have to take what it comes. And he's very very young. So I think
Spot on.
I can understand you can have that filter with people who've played a lot of games, but the guy is just coming through. So I think थोड़ा बहुत लीवे रखना पड़ेगा. Let's be a bit more patient.